What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Only Football with Kyle and I. We are bringing you the recap for Week 10. We are also bringing you running backs of the week and our top five. And as always, we're going to end it with a little chives with Kyle. Let's get it.
To the Only Football Podcast Week 10 recap, including, there was just a football game. Well,
I don't know who played Monday Night Football. Who even watches that anymore?
The Broncos.
The Broncos.
Look, I wanted to put my jersey on, but I didn't want to mess with the luck. We will get there. We're actually not even going to start in the United States. We're going to start over the pond. And we're going to talk about a game that when I first saw it presented to me, I said, gross Patriots, ? You said gross Colts, ? It turns out the Colts were able to win it. I did say if the Patriots win it, it's going to be a disgusting, gross game. Yep. And we did get a disgusting, gross game, but the Colts end up on top. Rick, what is your immediate reaction following a game that you didn't care to watch or watch the highlights of?
My God, Kyle could not be any more correct in his assessment on my watching or lack thereof watching of the Colts versus the Patriots. There was one touchdown scored in this game, and it happened in the first quarter. Like, what? What are we doing here? Why is this, thank God. I think luckily this is the last, 6 a.m. game for me. So the last overseas game, although I have to double check. I'm not entirely sure. Regardless. Shout out to our boy Jinja because his Colts took the dub against the New England Patriots, and the Colts moved to 500. They're 5-5 now, so good for them. Not too much really to report on the stats end. Gardner Minshew played a decent game. He had a turnover. He had one interception. He had 194 yards passing. But Jonathan Taylor, I said. In our predictions episode, if Jonathan Taylor has been playing really well, and he scored a touchdown in this game, 69 yards on 23 carries, not bad, 3 yards average, but he was able to score the only touchdown of the game. And Gardner Minshew was able to spread the ball around. Michael Pittman got some, Josh Downs got some. And the defense for the Colts, although it's a bad offense on the Patriots side, they held, man. They did their job, similar to what we talk about all throughout the season in the NFL. When you play the teams that you play on the schedule and you beat them, you get a win. That's all that fucking matters in this league is getting those wins, regardless of how they did it. They only let up 2 field goals. So good for the Colts defense. Again, 5-5. Not bad, given the circumstances, how you started the season. Anthony Richardson was out. You brought in Gardner Minshew. He's been able to kind of just manage the games to dubs. As far as the Patriots, Mac Jones getting benched in the last offensive drive of that Patriots game for Bailey Zappi, just for Bailey Zappi to fake a spike and go for it deep just to get intercepted. I feel like that's just been the Patriots. That's the Patriots way of 2023, of 2022.
Doesn't mean what it used to.
It does not mean what it used to. Uninspired play by this entire offense. Literally the only thing they got going for them is Ramondre Stevenson. He has been the only light at the end of this offensive tunnel because what else are you going to do? Patriots lose. They go to 2-8 and the Colts are 500.
Yeah, for the Patriots, the season's over. They're not. It's one thing to be 1-5, and then your team kind of starts playing inspired football. I don't know who I could be thinking of, but it's another thing for your team to start 1-5 and week in and week out, it's just the same story on repeat.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it earlier, patience running thin at quarterback. I mean, for the Patriots, it's like Mac Jones isn't their guy. They're probably going to be moving off of him. And with that new quarterback, the question is Bill Belichick going to be around to coach him? I mean, it's just a tough situation to be in, and altogether things aren't great in New England, but Robert Kraft is an owner that is really invested into his team. He pays the budget for the fire department and the police. Like, he is very involved in the city in general. And he's not one of those owners that's just going to collect a check and let this shit fall apart. So I do think that change is coming, right? And when things are going the way they are, change is necessary. And I think for the Colts, they got a really good head coach in Shane Steichen. Like, he is a really good head coach. And that's like, you may have a home run in Anthony Richardson. And if you can check head coach and quarterback, you can check both those boxes. You're going to be, you know what I mean? You're going to be around when January comes around. So I think for Indy, they're going to continue to keep playing good games because they're well coached. And I think they should feel good about the future. New England, the sooner that they can blow this whole thing up, probably the better. But that's all I got on that game.
Yeah, I don't really have much for this either, other than, Jinja, 5-5, baby. Sounds a lot better than 0-10.
Better record than the Broncos.
Better record than the Bears, too.
Better record than a team on a 4-game winning streak.
Yep.
All right, Rick.
I know what's coming. Let's go. Let me hear it. Let's go.
It is time for all of the people that doubted to come up and sit at the big boy table and answer for what is really happening in front of our faces. Baltimore gets a pick six right away in the game. Cleveland gets a pick six in the game. The defenses are really good for both these teams. Number one, number two. Cleveland, though, going into Baltimore, in Baltimore winning their last two home games by a margin of 40 points against Seattle and Detroit. They've become a juggernaut. And I saw a post on Twitter this morning. It said, who is to say that anyone could get in the way of Baltimore contending for a Super Bowl this year? Which is a great question to ask. And I commented, Cleveland. Cleveland has something to say about it. And by the way, they're coming off of a win. I think Deshaun Watson's back. I think he's the quarterback. Like, look, there's always going to be a separate conversation when we're talking about Deshaun Watson. The things that he was accused of were horrific, and we're going to have to just compartmentalize that and put that aside and just talk about football. We've talked enough about all the other stuff. Deshaun Watson looks like he's back. He's playing really good football right now in Cleveland with their defense. I think you can make a realistic argument that they're going to win their division. In this division, the best division in sports. So what are we really talking about here? We're talking about Cleveland making a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, man, this was, this game, it's like, what a good game this was too, right? Because you're talking about the pick sixes, you're talking about the touchdowns, the scoring at the beginning of the game. Baltimore, their defense was damn good this game. Baltimore came out, scored 17 points in the first quarter, scored 14 in the second half, but a terrible pick six by Lamar Jackson there in the fourth quarter to give up. They were down by one after that pick six, I believe. And then Cleveland came all the way back down to win it on a last second field goal. Like, I almost was like, what the fuck is the defense doing? But that's a bad decision by Lamar Jackson there. He had two interceptions in this game, and I think both of them were pick sixes, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the second pick was really late in the game, and it was returned all the way to like the 10-yard line.
Oh, okay. And I mean, you got to give credit there in the fourth quarter too, because the punter got it right down at the one for the Ravens. The Ravens were able to get 2 yards on a Gus Edwards run, and then Lamar just threw that pick six. They're down by one. And again, Cleveland comes down to the last second field goal. It's reminiscent of that Broncos game, right? Like, you had the lead, it looked like you were going to win, and then they come down and they're able to get that win. Dude, this entire AFC North, you said it, is tough, dude. And Deshaun Watson is looking better as the season's progressing. No, no, I can't do it. I can't even do it anymore. I can't say dog shit. He's looking better as the season is progressing. You know, there was talk a couple weeks ago about whether he cared about football or not, whether he cared about playing. You know, there was the discussion of he just likes being a football player. He doesn't necessarily love to play football. He's winning these games. 213 yards, a touchdown, yes, an interception, but he's getting past it. You know, he's getting these dubs. He's got Cleveland at 6-3. Big ups to PJ Walker and this defense, though, who kind of held it down for Deshaun Watson while he was away. And you know, 6-3 in AFC North in one of the toughest divisions in football right now. You still got the Bengals with a winning record. You still got the Steelers with a winning record. It's a tough division to win in, and Cleveland is doing it. They got their dub against the Ravens after the Ravens embarrassed them earlier this year. Yeah, man, I have nothing to say bad against the Browns anymore. I just hope and pray that the Ravens can take this dub in the division.
Why?
Because I have Lamar Jackson on my fantasy.
Oh, okay.
I need him to play really well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I agree with everything you said. I mean, the Ravens being at home, this one just means a little bit more, right? It's one thing to be like, oh, you know, in an AFC North grudge match, the home team generally wins. And the fact is Cleveland made enough mistakes where they had no business hanging around in this game, and they were able to win. And that to me says a lot, because look, in the NFL, there's going to be adversity. And I know firsthand, I've been a fan of a team for the last 2 years that as soon as something bad happens, whether it's a fumble or an interception or a missed field goal, as soon as any doom comes in, you know that it's just going to be, a burden too heavy to carry. Like, it's over, right? Cleveland showing that they can win a game like this on the road when they're making all those mistakes is like,
that was huge.
That's the stuff that those teams that are playing in January are made out of.
Yeah.
And I think this is the biggest win Cleveland's had. You know what I mean? This entire season, like Cleveland got blown out by the Ravens, I believe 28-3 on October 1st. Here it is.
Yep.
But Cleveland beat the 49ers. They beat the Colts 39-38. They lost to the Seahawks, but they didn't have Deshaun Watson. They shut out the Cardinals and beat the Ravens. I think that the sample size is starting to kind of come together in a way where we can be like, okay, the Browns are going to be a really tough team to play.
Yep.
Right. And I'm not looking forward to Denver having to play this Cleveland team. Like, this is a real tough team. And I just think, looking at it now, like, I think it's not as crazy that I think Cleveland comes out of this division as when I put them in my top 5 4 weeks ago.
Yes. See, that was a little too premature. Now it's like, okay, I can totally
I saw this already.
Yeah,
I was
all right.
No, I did. I was like, look at this defense. Deshaun Watson, like, if this were any other quarterback like Deshaun Watson, would this team not be in the top 5? Probably not. So, I mean, just looking at it from strictly like where a team is headed, I think it's fair for Cleveland to go all in. You know what I mean? Shoot for a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I mean, there's only a handful of teams that can realistically get it, and Cleveland finds themselves in the conversation. And that's pretty much all I got. But do you think Cleveland can end up winning the AFC North?
Oh man, they split the games with the Ravens this year. They do have a shot. I still think the Ravens are going to win it. But again, it really, up to this point, I think the winner of this division is going to be either the Ravens or the Browns. The Steelers and the Bengals still have a really good shot at it. But all these teams are just like winning games. And they're, the Ravens on one hand winning them pretty convincingly. The Browns have started to become a little bit more convincing with their wins as well. The Bengals, God, they're really up and down right now. You start thinking, we'll talk about them a little later, but they're really up and down. And then the Steelers, it's like if they can get any offense going, just like a regular run-of-the-mill offense, they would probably be leading the division right now. So I think it's up for grabs. But if you ask me which two teams I think are going to win it, it's between the Browns and the Ravens.
Yeah, and I definitely think Deshaun Watson turning in his first performance that is like, oh, okay, Deshaun Watson's like getting back. So like ever since he came back, he was a little bit back. And it reminds me of when Michael Vick came back. It was a slow progression. And then all of a sudden we woke up one day and Michael Vick was like Atlanta Michael Vick, but wearing a Philly uniform. Yeah. And I think Deshaun Watson's getting really close to totally making that switch. And I just think football is going to be, even better when that happens. Such a great division, so much good football. Mm-hmm. And another team that is playing really good football right now that deserves a seat at the table is a team that not only won the football game, but was in control in winning the football game the entire game. It's a lot different than you sneak up on them in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left. No. The Houston Texans went into Cincinnati, and they handed Cincinnati a fat L, and they were in control the game the entire time. The locker room's going absolutely bananas. D'Amico Ryans has everybody playing inspired. CJ Stroud looks like the future. There's just so much to love about Houston right now. D'Amico Ryans, this is the biggest win of his career, undisputed. I never even heard that conversation, but I'm willing to start it. D'Amico Ryans is he's very good at everything he does, including being a head coach. Houston, this is such an impressive win, man. Yeah,
D'Amico Ryans 100% getting coach of the year for the AFC. I think it is an AFC NFC award, I believe. D'Amico Ryans is going to get it, man.
NFL award.
Okay, it's an NFL. Oh, yeah, he's got to get it, dude. Like, what the Texans have done this year, they're 5-4. They went into Cincinnati, like you said, and they were going toe-to-toe with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. A rookie quarterback in CJ Stroud is going toe-to-toe. 356 yards and another touchdown. He got another interception. Oh, no, watch out, right? Is the downfall coming for CJ Stroud? Absolutely not, dude. This guy is so damn good. I think he's got like over 2,600 yards passing right now. I think 3 or 4 total interceptions on the year and like 20 touchdowns probably. He is going toe-to-toe with these teams right now, and they're just so damn good, man. It just makes me wish I had CJ Stroud. They did have to win this game on a fourth quarter field goal, but like you said, like it never seemed like the Texans were out of this game. Right? Because regardless, in the fourth quarter, the Bengals scored 10 points to go up to 27 or tie at 27-27. Texans came out, were able to get that dub with the last scoring drive and the field goal. Dude, I don't know what else to say about these Texans. I mean, they're making Devin Singletary look good. He had 150 yards rushing and a touchdown. They got weapons all over the place. We talked about Dalton Schultz. Noah Brown had 172 yards on 7 receptions. Like, they still have Tank Dell. They still got like all these other guys on their team. They got dogs on their team, man. So good for them. Like I said, D'Amico Ryans probably coach of the year right now. On the other side, the Bengals.
Wait 1 second.
Yeah.
I got to insert. You mentioned, I believe you mentioned rookie of the year and you mentioned coach of the year. Can I propose something for the first time? Here we are, week 10, only football recap. It's time to look at Houston as a playoff contender. CJ Stroud is the clear, not just offensive rookie of the year. He's put himself in the MVP conversation with 2,626 passing yards and 15 touchdowns. We're not talking about offensive rookie of the year, Rick.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about MVP, the most valuable player to go to a rookie. Not sure if it's ever happened, but I needed to insert this right here just to really be absolutely clear about what we're actually talking about, because it's one thing to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's another thing when you're a rookie and you're up for MVP.
Yeah, this is a conversation that's happening NFL wide after this game against this Bengals team, because we looked at this, right? A 4-4 Houston Texans team going into Cincinnati and a 5-3 Bengals team. We're like, okay, the Bengals, man, they're kind of getting back into it. They're looking like the Bengals of old. Like, this should be a game which they win. Texans come in and they beat them by 3, but they still win. They didn't do this on some just like bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, yes, Burrow had 2 interceptions, but credit the defense. They're able to get those turnovers and turn them into points. And yes, CJ Stroud in the MVP conversation, 100%. Like, there are very, very few times in the NFL where you look at a rookie who's making an impact on the NFL, not just on their team, not just in their state, on the NFL, where they're being talked about NFL MVP. He deserves it. 15 touchdowns, low single digit interceptions, over 2,600 yards already. He's going to throw 5,000 yards this season. Are you insane for a rookie quarterback on the Texans? Unheard of. So yes, I agree. That should definitely be a conversation. And, depending on how the rest of the season goes, he's going to be up there for sure. He's going to probably get some votes.
Look at this favorable stretch. Cardinals, Titans twice, Broncos a little bit harder now that we know. But Jets and Colts, along with the Browns at home, the Texans have everything in front of them that they want to do. And I know you're about to pivot to Cincinnati, so I'm going to put this up and let you talk about the Bengals.
Cincinnati, Joe Burrow did everything he could. He threw for almost 350 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have the 2 interceptions. But this is just the reason why you hate to start off the season slow. They went 1-3 or 1-2 or 1-4, whatever that record was until Joe Burrow got healthy. This is why you hate to start the season slow, because now you're at 5-4. You're 4th in your division, last in the AFC North, and you just lost against the Texans. You look at those early games where you maybe were in it, maybe could have gotten a dub. You're in a better position now, but the Bengals are last in their division. I predicted them to win their division. They're last in their division, but the AFC North is so good this year. This is why you can't start off slow in the NFL, because you don't know which games down the line you're able to take an L on.
You don't even know early in the season what games you can afford to lose, because in the NFL, the amount of games you can afford to lose, 0. That's the reality of it. Like, you can't, like, a loss. I mean, and think about it. The Bengals have been hosting AFC Championship games really since Joe Burrow got in the mix. If not hosting it, they're at least in it. And this year, it felt like the Bengals got off to a slower start than normal. And the question is, moving forward, like, is this going to bite them in the ass later down the stretch?
And that's exactly my point. Like, will this affect them so much where they won't even get in the playoffs as a wild card? Because we're just talking about who's going to win the North. It's got to be the Browns or the Ravens at this point, right? We can make an argument for the Bengals. It's Joe Burrow. It's this offense. They got names too. They got a good defense. But the Ravens and the Browns had their struggles, and they're still struggling against certain teams, but they are blowing teams out. The Bengals have won, not convincingly, though. They have not won convincingly. And again, it's just a slow start that's really killing them right now. At this point, we're already more than halfway through the season. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the Bengals make the playoffs this year, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to jump on that wagon, but I think the Bengals are just too good to rule out. But the last thing I'll say about the Texans is that when you look at the situation that they were in, where the Bengals tied up the game and CJ Stroud had the ball in his hand, he drove them down and got the game-winning field goal. And if you were just watching the Buffalo game, as soon as Buffalo made their extra point, I felt doom. I felt a cloud of darkness come over, and you're like, wait a minute, you still got 2 minutes, 2 timeouts. That's not the point. The point is, why did you feel like that? Because you don't have faith in your offense. You don't have faith in Russell Wilson. You might not want to say it, but it's a little bit true. And when you look at CJ Stroud, right, the game was, headed to overtime, but CJ Stroud's like, no, I'm that guy that when there's a minute left and the ball's in my hands, we're going down and getting in field goal range, and we're going to, kick a game-winning field goal. We're not going to overtime. This was such a confidence-boosting game for everybody, holding CJ Stroud stock, or just Texans fans, Texans Nation. Everybody was like, oh, shit, we don't just have a good quarterback. We have the guy that if he has the ball last, we win. This is a huge, huge feeling that
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. And that is a feeling, like, as a fan, that, man, it would just be so awesome to be like, oh, we're going to get the ball last, we're going to win, right? That's how Mahomes and the Chiefs feel. And CJ Stroud, I wasn't really there yet with him, but after that performance, next week, if CJ Stroud gets the ball last, I'm betting on Houston to drive down and get in field goal range.
Live bet that game if he's got the ball in his hands with a minute or less.
Absolutely. Houston definitely, man, their stock is going through the moon, and don't sell anything on Cincinnati. I know that they're running out of opportunity, but they know. They know. They're aware of where they're at. They asked Josh Allen after the loss today. They said, we know how many games are left in the season. Like, we know, like, that Buffalo and Cincinnati at the end of the day are just in that tier where we're not going to panic, but they're running out of games that they can afford to drop. The team that has the ability to lose one and did lose one, lost one after being on the current longest winning streak in the NFL. Meanwhile, the 49ers were on a 3-game slide. This game was our game of the week. We thought this was going to be good. The 49ers with Chase Young, they come out and they make an immediate impact together on the field. The Jaguars can't even get a touchdown in this entire game. The 49ers just look like the more complete team. It looked like Trent Williams on the left side finally coming back in. It's like, maybe this is the most valuable offensive lineman in the history of the sport, because everything changed once they got healthy. And it looks like this is the 49ers we predicted to go 21-0, 22-0, and they're back. They are. Does this say more about the 49ers, or is this a bad day at the office for the Jaguars?
I got to stop calling games of the weeks, man, because every game of the week has been an absolute blowout. 2 weeks in a row with the Ravens, now with the 49ers and Jags, and I had the Jags winning. I think this says more about Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, man. Their preparation for this game after 3 games in a row that they lost. They go into their bye week. They pick up Chase Young. They reset. Kyle Shanahan I don't know what his record is after the bye week, but it must be good, because, wow, what a performance they put against a team in the AFC, the AFC South leading Jacksonville Jaguars. After a 5-game win streak, San Francisco comes into Jacksonville and goes, we're going to win this game. And they won it by 31 fucking points. They had the turnover ratio on their side, 4-0. They sacked Trevor Lawrence 5 times. The offense, 437 yards of total offense from the San Francisco team. And look, you went into halftime as the Jaguars, and you're down 10. You're like, okay, 13-3, not bad. Not a bad start. And then San Francisco goes touchdown, touchdown, touchdown to end the game, and you're just left there like, what the hell just happened if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan? This is definitely all on the 49ers, their preparation through 2 weeks. And Chase Young made a big impact there with Bosa there on the other side. They both made impacts, and they were able to get those 2 interceptions there off Trevor Lawrence too. They put in CJ Beathard, whoever. Like, they had to put him in because they're like, Trevor Lawrence is just taking hits, and we do not need our guy our franchise quarterback taking these hits right now in just a blowout. So huge ups to the 49ers and what they were able to do. Jacksonville Jaguars 5-game winning streak. This is like the opposite of what the Ravens did. The NFC team came into an AFC team and blew the brakes off of them. So Jacksonville Jaguars, man, I don't know what they got to do. But they went up against a very, very elite team and they just got destroyed.
I think for Jacksonville, they just got to kind of throw it away. Fucking get rid of that game.
Yeah.
That's not us. You know, they had 2 weeks to prepare for the game. 49ers did lose going into the bye week. So, I mean, Jacksonville got manhandled. They got absolutely like enough humble pie to last them all the way through the winter. I think Jacksonville's going to kind of do this. They'll probably lose one more game and end up 12 or 13-4. And if you're going to lose one, like the 49ers are the team that, you know what I mean? It's not, there's no shame in getting blown up by the Niners. They do it to everybody. When they're healthy, they do it to everybody. So, I mean, Jacksonville's just got to find a way to get back. The one thing I'll say is that they're a game behind the Chiefs and they lost week 2. That was the game that I was at in Kansas City when my equipment overheated because it's so hot. They're also 1.5 games behind the Ravens, who they'll play in week 15. So I think if Jacksonville just continues to win, a lot of this stuff is just going to sort itself out. They could still be the number 1 seed in the AFC. I don't think anybody's that confident about the Chiefs this year. They're not a juggernaut by any means. And, you know, the Bengals are normally that other team and they're losing, and Buffalo's at 500. So it's like, who's to say Jacksonville can't still end up as the number 1 seed, as I predicted in the offseason?
Yeah.
But Jacksonville is just going to have to, their ability to have, what would you call it? Intentional dementia, to just forget about this game.
That's a good one.
Purposely is going to prove, you know, to be important, because Jacksonville's going to have to, when you lose like this, you got to just get rid of the game, man. You can't linger on that one. And I just saw a post on Facebook from somebody in Jacksonville that ran into Trevor Lawrence at a gas station pumping gas.
Yeah.
And man, he just looks like such a normal dude. You know what I mean? Just like out there pumping gas, taking a selfie. Like, you know, no one pumping his gas for, like, Russell Wilson's like paparazzi and Sierra. And Trevor Lawrence is just fucking pumping his gas. I love it. I love it. So he's pumping his gas. I'm going to pump his tires and say that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be all right. They're playing Tennessee next week. What a great opportunity to get right.
Yeah, and Daniel said it here in the comments. It sucks because CMC was 1 game away from breaking the record of consecutive games with a touchdown.
I saw that. Did you see that they threw him in the game at the end? It was,
they did.
All the starters were already off the field. There was like 2 minutes left, and they put CMC in the game. They ran it to him, and they stopped him. Then they ran it again. Then on third down, they threw him the ball.
Oh, man.
And they were doing everything they could to get him a touchdown.
Tough.
Which is cool. You know what I mean? I'm glad you bring it up, Steve, or whoever brought it up. Because Daniel, I'm glad you brought it up, because I just thought that was such a cool head coach moment. You know what I mean? You're up by 40 points or however, you know, much they were up. And then you care enough to be like, you know what? Let's try to get our guy this touchdown so he can break a record. Like, that just shows, like, to me, that Kyle Shanahan is also a bro, and he's not just like, this guy that's like, no, I don't care about stats and records. I care about wins. I care about health. You know what I mean? Just like, like Kyle Shanahan was like, put him in.
Dude,
let's get this dude a touchdown. And I personally, even though he didn't get it, the effort did not go unnoticed by Kyle Shanahan.
100%. I wish he would have gotten it.
I do too. I really do. Our next game is maybe a flashback of the Minneapolis Miracle, but this time, along like last time, Minnesota is on the winning side of it. Joshua Dobbs, a guy that NASA, I'm talking about space NASA.
Space?
I'm talking about space. All right. This guy understands space. This guy understands the space between the defensive back and the wide receiver. And these receivers are getting separation. You saw what I did there. But, man, I got to say, Joshua Dobbs in the vibes. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. The vibes are so good right now in Minnesota, dude. They're scoring 27 on accident. They got this guy in that they had to learn cadence on the sideline. And it almost seems like in a weird way that this is all benefiting Minnesota. It's kind of like when that field goal kicker ran out at the end of the first half where they didn't have time to think about it. They just had to go kick the field goal. It was like, oh, look, when you don't have time to think about it, you just kind of naturally do what, if you're good at football, you do the right thing. And it seems like Joshua Dobbs is a guy that doesn't need to think too much. He just needs to go out and react. And he's got the brains to play the position. NASA did shout out his win week 1. They retweeted it. NASA, the space company. Yeah, because he worked with NASA. This guy is a fucking genius. And he's out on the field playing football, which is probably just, I don't want to say he could do so much more, because how many of us would love to play in the NFL? But the fact that he's playing football, we already know he's overqualified for this sport when NASA's retweeting it. You know what I mean? Like, dude, how many football players get NASA to retweet how fucking smart they are in the middle of the game? So, like, I really just love the story, and I think Minnesota's rolling in the vibes right now, and they're like, I think they started 1-4, and they haven't lost since. So, I mean, Minnesota's officially like, hey, we want a seat at the table. Who do we got to kick out? The Saints. And they did right here.
Yeah, they really did, dude. I love this Joshua Dobbs story. And look, I was one person who said, look, we've seen him in Arizona. He's probably not going to do much. Look at what he's doing, dude. He's rushing for touchdowns. He's throwing for touchdowns, 268 yards in this game against the Saints. They did not stop scoring. The only quarter they didn't score in was the fourth. They went into halftime up 24-3. All they needed was a field goal to comfortably win this game in the second half. So, honestly, dude, the Joshua Dobbs story, like you said, is great. I love it, because not only is he doing well, the rest of the team is feeding off that. The Vikings are winning 5 games. They've won 5 games in a row without Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. Like, what? That's crazy. If I would have told you, Kyle, the Minnesota Vikings are going to start off the season 1-4, and then they're going to win 5 games in a row. But in those 5 games, they're not going to have Justin Jefferson, and Kirk Cousins is going to go down after that second win. Would you have believed that they'd be 6-4 after that span?
I would have told you that's why I love the NFL. But no, I wouldn't. I would not have thought that. But
Hollywood would have thrown this script out.
Isn't that why we love this sport so much more
100%.
than college or baseball or hockey? Yep. I mean, it's truly anything can happen on any given Sunday, and Joshua Dobbs is really like driving that whole point home for so many people that are maybe new to the sport, maybe the Swifties. A lot of people are learning, you know what I mean? Just how spontaneous and sporadic the NFL is week in and week out. We had 7 games, I believe, come down to a last-second field goal, not including the Broncos game today. So, I mean, it's just no one knows. You know what I mean?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows
whether you're up, Dow Jones or the stock, whether it's up or in. It's a fugazi. It's a fugazi. Yeah, it's never landed. It is no matter. It's not fucking real.
Oh, and if you are someone who holds TJ Hawkinson in your fantasy football, you love this game. 11 receptions, 134 yards, and a touchdown from the big tight end who's becoming his favorite target for Joshua Dobbs. On the other side with the Saints, dude.
We got to talk about it because Derek Carr got hurt.
He did get hurt. 110 yards on 18 attempts. They even brought in Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston, you want to talk about gunslinger? Jameis Winston is a goddamn gunslinger. Remember when he had like 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions on the Tampa Bay
30
Bucs?
for 30.
Yeah, 30 for 30, 30 for 30, the 30 for 30.
And then he got laser eye surgery the following. And we were like, yeah, that was the squeaky wheel that needed the grease. Your fucking eyes. Seems important.
Yeah, and yet somehow he's still just as bad. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Not even Alvin Kamara could do anything against this Vikings.
Even when you say his name like that?
Alvin Kamara.
I love
couldn't do shit against this team, dude. This Saints team is like absolute
dog shit.
Chris Olave and A.T. Perry had a touchdown each, thanks to Jameis Winston coming in. But this Saints team, and Daniel said it here in the comments, they're leading their division at 5-5. You look at that, the NFC South, and then you look at the AFC North, and you're like, this is the NFL. This is it. Any one team in the AFC North would be leading this division in the NFC South right now. I don't know what to say, man. Sometimes the Saints look good, sometimes they don't. This game they look bad. They look just so bad. And when Jameis Winston is like your pop, you know how you put up the screen there. When he's your pop, that's a tough time.
Whoa. Now slow down there.
Slow down there, partner.
Jameis Winston is a very, very good football quarterback. And if you weren't watching college football
FSU,
from
whatever.
20... No, I'm just saying that guy he's a number 1 overall selection. He's not just like, some dude. Have you ever seen his eyes, dude? They remind me of Bernie Mac. Remember how Bernie Mac's eyes used to be like piercing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like almost like they're bulging out of his head. I always see that from Jameis Winston, and it just makes me happy. I don't know why. I'm just like, I love how intense this guy is about football. He's just the most intense backup in the league. Like Derek Carr's talking to the head coach, and Jameis Winston's fucking eyes just popping out of his head, just so into it. And when you got a backup like that, you always feel good when he's got to come into the game. And I was really rooting for him, and I did think, man, he threw up that Hail Mary. That could have been completed. That was a great throw. Remember that? He was rolling out, and he threw the ball. He placed it perfectly. It was, it was just such a great ball placement. But unfortunately, it doesn't get catch, so we don't talk about it unless you're on Only Football, and then I'll talk about it.
Jameis Winston isn't even top 3 college quarterbacks of all time. Let's be real.
Top 3 of all time? Probably right. You're probably right. But
so I just want you to know that
means you're really good if you're
I just want you to know that. Tim Tebow.
If you would have been like, he's not even top 50.
He's not even top 4, dude.
I think he lost 1 game in his whole college career, including an undefeated national.
I don't give a shit what you say. Tim Tebow had a better NFL career.
All right. Those are fighting words. And by the way, I'm a big Tebow guy. But yeah, man. I think Minnesota, guess who they're playing on Sunday night?
The Broncos.
They're playing the Denver Broncos, and this is kind of when like a cute story comes to shove, and it's like, all right, are we going to be a cute story? Now, these are 2 teams that both have to answer the same fucking question.
Yeah.
Are we a cute story, or are we contenders? Mm-hmm. And they're going to have to play each other, and the loser is going to be on the wrong side of that. But that's the last thing I got. But this is set up to be a really good primetime football back-to-back weeks. Although Denver just finally got like the pass where now when they're on primetime, people won't purposely not watch because for a while last year it was rough. They were forcing it and no one wanted to watch. They're like,
it was so bad. It was just like the Bears.
Just like the Bears. One game that wasn't like the Bears was, all right, let me put it this way. The Green Bay Packers haven't beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh since Bart Starr was their quarterback.
Wow.
And that streak was not broken. Green Bay goes into Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin gets a dub. Another hard-fought win for the Steelers, who are going to win a lot of these type of games. Now, I can tell you the immediate reaction from like Packers Nation is that, yeah, we're going to lose a lot of games this year, but we're okay with losing like this, where, it came down to the last play where Jordan Love was making plays. Like, there was something here to be happy about, but how happy can you be when you lose? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was like hope, and I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to be happy in a loss, which is kind of a weird silver lining. But that's pretty much the vibes I'm getting from Green Bay is like, yeah, we lost. Yeah, we're not going to the playoffs this year, but our team fought, ? You know what I mean? And for Pittsburgh, it's like they get another win, but are we really going to add up all these wins against Green Bay and fucking, you know what I mean? Does it equal anything at the end of the season? And the question still remains. I'm not sure, but Pittsburgh does what they have to do to at least be in the picture when December rolls around. I'm just not sure I'm sold on the Steelers, even though I had them winning 10 games. They're still probably going to win 10 games, but it's not going to look pretty,
Yeah, dude, the Steelers, man, Mike Tomlin, you got to give him so much credit. They are 3 wins away from another winning season. He's not at a losing season, dude. Like it's just wow.
Dog shit.
Wow, it's dog shit. Come on, Kyle. What the fuck are you doing? They got the Browns next week, then they got the Bengals. Cardinals and Patriots look pretty winnable, and the Colts in Indianapolis, those look like some winnable games. The Bengals and the Browns, though, those are going to be those games where we really look at the Steelers and be like, okay, they have a shot to win this division. They have a shot for the playoffs. They can't beat the Browns or the Bengals. You may as well call it a day for the Steelers. But this game, dude, I mean, the defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers gets that interception the last second from Jordan Love. Great job on them. And Jaylen Warren actually, had a great game this time, 101 yards rushing and a touchdown. I think he had a couple of receptions as well. So the offense seems to be doing a little bit better. They're scoring more than like 2 touchdowns, it seems like, and they're actually getting some yards. I think total yards right now for Pittsburgh were 324. So they eclipsed 300 for probably like the 3rd time this year. So good on them. The funny thing is they got out yarded, I guess is the term. Green Bay had almost 400 yards of total offense. Pittsburgh only 324, and they still won the game. That's how you know Pittsburgh is pure defense. That's how they're winning this game. But still, credit to the offense. They were able to do something. Kenny Pickett still does not seem like he can be a very good quarterback in the league, but he's managing the games. He's not throwing them away in a sense. So I guess just credit to the Pittsburgh Steelers for being able to win these games for Mike Tomlin. The Packers, on the other hand, 3-6, dude, not what you were expecting. We talked about it last week. A lot of people in the NFL had the Packers
expecting it.
Yeah, no, you didn't. No, you weren't. Yeah, a lot of people were expecting the Packers to win the NFC North. Kyle has no idea what he's talking about. He's clearly drunk. Everybody put a dog shit in the chat for Kyle. Jordan Love, kind of a gunslinger, though. You got to like the mentality. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He had almost 300 yards passing. They're running the ball a little bit more. A.J. Dillon with 70 yards. Aaron Jones, 35. I would not have expected Dillon to outrush Aaron Jones. But the offense seems to be coming together. Yes, later in the season, more than halfway through. But they seem to be clicking a little bit more. They're getting a little bit more. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just that the offense is getting more yards, and it's looking like
dog shit.
A complete dog shit type of offense. But no, they're looking better. It's just they're not going to win. They're losers. They're fucking losers. Green Bay's a bunch of losers.
That's debatable. But this
You're
year,
debatable.
Yeah.
How about that?
No, dude, I'll never forget the schedule being released 30 minutes early for Tom Grassi and him going, win.
Win.
Buffalo might be a loss. I'm gonna be conservative and say loss. I'm like, brother,
What?
you're already 1-5. And like, but I know what happens. Like when that schedule gets released, man, every fan has that in them where they're like, we could go 10-7, and that's like every fan besides like Buffalo and Cincinnati think they're going 10-7. They're like, oh, it's like a 10-7, super. And no, it's not gonna happen. And you know what? No shame in that, because I know exactly what that feels like. I do it every year, and I'm wrong every year. I don't even want to talk about our next game. Is there an option to pass?
What was this game, dude?
I don't really love to talk about boring football. I will say the Titans offense is in a bad place right now. Like they did move on to Will Levis and they found a little bit success, but it was just a frustrating day for Will Levis. And DeAndre Hopkins was quiet for a second straight week. Derrick Henry had just 2.2 yards per carry on 11 attempts. And when we talked about this game, I said, Tampa Bay's got a good running defense. This is not going to be the Derrick Henry show. I still started him in my fantasy league and got like 3 points out of him, because sometimes you just have to learn the hard way. But man, I guess the Buccaneers are breaking through right now. I don't really know what to say. Baker Mayfield went 18 for 29, 278 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and 1 arm punt that turned into an interception. But this game was just like, I guess the Bucs won at home. Next. That's how I feel.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans had great games. Both of those guys had really good games. And, Rachaad White scored a touchdown for me. So, fuck yeah, he was on my fantasy squad. Love when he does that. Yeah, man, this was like, okay, Tampa Bay actually found a team that they can beat pretty convincingly. And it was the Tennessee Titans with a rookie quarterback and kind of a dog shit O-line, kind of a dog shit defense. I don't know what else to say. The Bucs won. The Bucs beat a worse team than the Bucs. But credit to Baker Mayfield, he's still the starter there. He's still making moves, making good football happen in Tampa Bay. They still got Mike Evans, Godwin, Rachaad White starting to become a good player. Yeah, they won at home. Good for them. 4-5. They still suck. It's what else do you want me to say, dude? Like, what happened on the Tennessee Titans side? They scored 2 field goals, and yes, we talked about Will Levis being like, okay, this guy's good, and he had a rookie moment. He had a rookie game. Just CJ Stroud had one against the Panthers. What do you like? It happens.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say, because I keep receipts, all right, and when we get it right.
Nice.
When we get it right, we got to talk about it. We said Derrick Henry was not going to be able to run the football. We also both, I think, I don't know if you said it. I know I said it, but I think you agreed. Mike Evans was going to, I put a B in there. That stands for bitch.
Bitch.
Mike Evans, though, can we talk about it just real quick?
Yeah.
Mike Evans is just, this was his year that we were going to kind of stray away from his decade of consistency that he's inching closer to, and we were going to be like, okay, Tom Brady's gone, Baker Mayfield comes in, Mike Evans. Don't love the pick, right? 26 fantasy points. Mike Evans, week in and week out, gets enough separation to be able to get balls and targets often, and he just continues to be one of the most. He reminds me of Keenan Allen, just guys that consistently are always going to be a threat. But Mike Evans stays healthy. You know what I mean? Like, he's always out there, and I'm so glad that this guy's got a Super Bowl ring, because he deserves it. And I just think when you look at the box score, Mike Evans has to get the game ball.
You heard it here first from Kyle. Mike Evans gets balls. I love that he got a Super Bowl as well because he deserves it, man. Like, again, like you said, a decade of just being a number one wide receiver in the NFL, no matter what quarterback is throwing to him. We always throw his name out there week in, week out. Watch out for Mike Evans. Watch out for Mike Evans. And again, he's when it's an inferior team like this, he's going to ball out. And again, even when he was the Super Bowl year, he was still balling out. So
still balling.
Good for him. He's probably gonna go in the Hall of Fame.
He's already Hall of Famer.
Yeah, like he's already there. So good for him.
Yeah, definitely. And our next guy that's good for is Kyler Murray, who came back and you know, we haven't seen him in a long time, so we didn't know what was fair to really expect out of him. But I think both of us felt like Arizona at home with the spark of Kyler Murray was enough to kind of give him the edge. And it was not by 1 point, but by 2 points. Atlanta coming in, they played a really scrappy game, but really what we predicted was the game. Like, that's really how I would write it up if I had to. It'd be like, you know, Atlanta came in, played a good football game, but the Kyler Murray juice provided enough momentum for Arizona to be able to get the dub. Is that kind of how you felt about the game?
Yeah, I believe I had the Falcons winning because I did not expect Kyler Murray to. Let me double check here. I had the Falcons winning because I didn't expect Kyler Murray.
Put a dog shit in the chat for Rick.
Put a dog shit in the chat for me. And look, Kyler Murray didn't really do shit. Let's be real, right? He rushed for 33 yards.
Yes, he threw game-winning field goal drive.
Yeah, he led the game-winning field goal drive. 0 points on. You know, he rushed for a touchdown. Okay, I'll give him that much, whatever. But
did he win the game when it came down to it?
No, the Arizona Cardinals won the game. It's a team sport, Kyle.
Did he put his team in position to make a game-winning field goal?
Sport. It's a
Put it in the chat if you think Kyler Murray played a bigger role than Rick has.
Put a dog shit. All right, I'll give him half credit here. The rest goes to the kicker because, like, halftime, it was 14-12. Atlanta was leading. And you're just like, okay, is this the dog shit kind of game that we expected? Because that's a dog shit game I expected. Matt Prater was 4 for 4 along with 56 yards. I'm going to give him the credit in this game as far as scoring. But Kyler Murray, again, didn't look great, but he was throwing for 250 yards. And like you said, he leads the game-winning field goal drive in his first game back from tearing his fucking, I don't know, his controller. I don't know what he tore exactly. He tore his fucking skin on Modern Warfare. He tore something that really kept him out of the game. The Falcons, though, they put up a good fight. Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ridder both combined for less than 100 yards passing and a touchdown. Bijan Robinson, it was his game, 95 yards rushing and a touchdown. Desmond Ridder rushed for a touchdown. I just, God, I don't know, man. This was another bad game. This was more exciting than the Titans and Bucks, but that's really not saying much.
Yeah, it was more exciting than that game simply because there was Kyler Murray back in the game. By the way, new Call of Duty did drop before this game.
Over.
So a lot of people thought that Kyler Murray was going to be playing too much COD for this game. No, he came into this game ready to play. Now, that's like a serious factor. I'm not even joking. Yeah. I'm like being 100% serious. Like, this dude's a gamer, right? Which means he's staying up late because obviously his day-to-day, he's got to be at work all day. So I didn't know if that was really going to play a role. But what does it mean for the Cardinals? It means that the most important takeaway probably is that Murray looked good in his first action since returning from his ACL, right? We haven't seen him play since week 14 last season. Murray went 19 for 32, 249 yards. He did have an interception, but if Murray continues to get stronger throughout the season, there's only 2 more months, but still, it could actually hurt Arizona's draft position because right now the Cardinals are 2-8.
Yep.
And they don't need to replace him if they already feel good about him. So it's just kind of like, you know, Arizona finds himself in a position where Kyler Murray is definitely playing for his job. The last thing he wants is them to draft Caleb Williams to come take over his job the way he took over Josh Rosen, right?
Yep.
So, like, if anybody knows how easy it is to be replaced in the NFL, it's Kyler Murray, who was drafted 1 year after they selected Josh Rosen. So, I mean, Kyler Murray's going to be playing, but at the end of the day, you got to look at this and be like, what the fuck are they playing for? Because there's really nothing to play for here. Atlanta, on the other hand, I do think Atlanta is still going to be my favorite to win their division. And
you're high.
I'm still going to ride with Atlanta. I don't trust Tampa Bay. And I absolutely don't trust the Saints with their only wins coming against shitty teams. Like,
true.
I'm not saying Atlanta's they're going to be a contender like in the playoffs. I'm saying this division is such dog shit that it's possible Atlanta's going, the winner of this division is going to have a losing record. Just take a second and soak that in.
They're going to host a playoff game. They're
against
hosting
a wild card team. And anything can happen. Once the playoffs start and you're hosting a playoff game, I've seen weird things happen, right? Eli Manning's got 2 rings if you want to talk about what can happen when a 7-9 team is at home in the playoffs. And I don't think that's going to be Atlanta's story because they don't have Eli Manning. But I do think Atlanta's going to fight all the way through December to be the team that makes it out of this shitty division.
Dude, they're going to host either the Vikings, the Cowboys, or like Seattle or San Francisco. Like whoever wins that West, they're going to host one of these teams. And you're just like, how? In terms of like the draft order, I'm so glad that the Cardinals won because that means that the number 1 overall is still the Bears pick with the Carolina Panthers. I know Bill's looking at that right now with the New York Giants at a number 2 overall. So yes, I love that the Cardinals are winning too. So
yeah, and that's the way it kind of shakes up most years. Whoever's drafting 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, even 5th, are all looking for a quarterback because if your quarterback was really that good, would you be drafting 1 through 5? Most of the time, not. But we maybe might see a scenario where Chicago's not looking for a quarterback. I don't like if you are. Can you just send them to us and we'll give you Russell Wilson? Like,
I know.
Like if you guys really want to part ways with Justin Fields, fucking give him to us because I believe in that young man.
Yeah.
Old and call me young man. I don't know.
That young man.
That young man has got so much good football left in him. He really does, though. And you guys are high off pot news if you think that you're going to get rid of him for a new guy. It's a Bears problem. That's a whole nother thing.
It is.
Let's talk about a game. Let's stay in the North. Let's talk about my front runner, the Detroit Lions.
Woo!
Dan Campbell biting kneecaps off of his opponents. He went into LA to take on the Chargers. And by the way, we've talked a lot of shit, you mostly, about Justin Herbert in the quarterback situation for the Chargers. But at the end of the day, Justin Herbert is good enough to almost put up 40 points against his defense. But it was Detroit that got the extra 3 at the end.
Yes.
This game came down to a last-second field goal. I think it says a lot about the Chargers. If this was Denver, I would be losing my mind in a good way. I'd be like, holy shit, we played Detroit really tough and scored 40 almost.
Yeah.
This was a game where you don't really know what to do, right? Because in one end, you look at it and you're like, Detroit gave up almost 40 to the Chargers. I thought they had a good defense. And on the other end, you're like, the Chargers can offensively play with anybody. So really, let me hand this to you, and you tell me what you do with this, because the way I look at it was 2 good teams played, and Detroit's the better team. And that's very, I guess, not spicy. There's no take in that. But sometimes I just think that's the way the NFL is like you had 2 really good teams going at it. Justin Herbert probably the better quarterback over Jared Goff, but Detroit the more complete team, and that's why they get the extra 3.
Yeah, man. In this game, and look, I love Austin Eckler. He's a fucking great running back. But the Chargers were one-dimensional in this game. They were very much leaning on Herbert. And look, Herbert's going to get you yards. He's going to get you touchdowns. He's going to get you points.
But not dubs.
It depends on the dubs. Exactly. Can he get you the dubs? And it just was not happening this time. Detroit, 533 yards of offense. Jared Goff threw for 2 touchdowns. You had David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs scoring a total of 3 touchdowns between both of them. Dude, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, 156 yards and a touchdown. Why can't the Bears have offense like this? I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm going
no, it's okay. I get it.
Oh, God, I fucking wish. Anyway, this was like exactly what you said. These were 2 good teams, very high offensive driven teams going toe to toe, and the Lions going to LA after getting just embarrassed by the Ravens, and we're like, we're taking this fucking dub against an AFC team because of what the Ravens did to us. You know what I mean? And so Jared Goff and this entire offense are just doing really well. Jahmyr Gibbs is such a great rookie. They got such a good running back in David Montgomery. He was hurt. He came back 116 yards and a touchdown. Like they are just putting in work on the offense, and their defense, nothing to laugh at. Yes, they gave up 38 points, but they're still a good unit. Like they can still get sacks, like they can still get pressures. They I believe they got an interception. Yeah, they got 1 interception off the Chargers, and unfortunately on third downs they kind of suck. The Chargers got 50% of those third downs. Like you said, it was just 2 offensive juggernauts going up against each other, and the Lions were able to come out with a dub. And to be honest, the better team won today. That day, I should say, the better team won.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I did post this up right here. Dan Campbell's the right man for the job. This isn't new information, but we saw confirmation on 4th and 2 with 1:40 left remaining in the 4th quarter. And if you guys watched the game, you know exactly what I'm getting at. If you didn't, you're at the right recap. So instead of kicking a 44-yard field goal to potentially take the lead, Campbell, and this is where those
giant
balls come in. He decided he was going for it. All right.
Yeah.
We're not gonna kick the field goal. We're gonna gamble. And the Lions picked up the first down, and it led to a game-winning field goal with no time left on the clock. That takes a lot of balls. When you're talking about a 40-yarder, not a 50-yarder, and you're like 4th and 2, 140 left, a field goal wins us the game. Let's just not give them the ball back, because the way our defense has been playing, it was safe to assume that the Chargers were going to go for it. But here's the thing. Many coaches are in a situation where they know that the team they're playing likely is going to get in field goal range, but they don't have the offense to do the type of gamble that Dan Campbell did. Yeah. He's like, no, let's just do this. Let's not even give them the ball back. And how do we do that? By going for it on 4th and 2 with the game on the line. You don't get it, game's over. You lose.
Yep.
Right? So this is such a ballsy call, man. It is such a ballsy call. It's a call that few coaches even have the ability to make, because of how much this running back duo is so great, right? Sam Laporta's doing all-time great stuff. He's going to be around for a while. You look at the receiver weapons, they're amazing. But the dual threat at running back with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, so much talent. Dan Campbell's like, you know what? I think the best way to win is to actually make sure the Chargers don't step back on this field. We're going to end this game one way or another. We're going to kick the field goal, but there will be no time left one way or another. We either make the kick and win, or we don't. But either way, it's a coaching decision that just shows that Dan Campbell not only is the right man for the job, potentially he's the only man for this job.
You gotta love him, man. He not only does he put his balls on the table there at the end, but he's just a big crybaby, and you're just like, what am I supposed to do with this? Probably. I don't know. He cries every day, it seems like.
So.
It seems like every day he cries, but it's like, this guy is that emotional about football. I wish I could be that emotional. I love football. I love watching football, but my God, he is the epitome of just a man who loves, breathes, shits, eats football.
Fucks.
So fucks. He probably sleeps with a football in his hands.
I do. I sleep with a football in my bed. Is that weird?
No.
I literally wake up sometimes and I'm like, I fell asleep with a football in my hand. But you know what? That's how much Dan Campbell loves football. Like I think it's just a coincidence. It's like I fall asleep and I got a football. You know what I mean? I don't plan it. I don't go like, all right, tonight I sleep with my football. You know what I mean? I just think for Dan Campbell, that's how important it is to him, where like it's the first thing you think of when you wake up and it's the last thing you're holding when you fall asleep.
And you guys may think I'm just sitting like on a chair, on a regular office chair. I'm sitting on a football that's standing up on tip to tip. I am sitting on a football for you, for Kyle, for Only Football, for the NFL. This is the type of
this is how much we love the football. He's gonna smell that football for you guys right now. Go ahead, Rick. Smell that football. All right. All right.
That's passion right there. Let's move on.
That is passion. You know what? I'm so passionate. I'll smell the football. No, I'm just kidding. Moving on. We got to do it. Bill, close your eyes. I understand it's not the way that things were going. Dallas actually went into this game 17.5-point favorites. And I watched Colin Cowherd with some of the best bettors in Vegas talking about their favorite bets of the week. One of the bets that they had, they said Dallas minus 17.5. And they were like, look, I understand it's not like, a sexy pick, but I guess, looking at it, it's like sometimes you just know what you're going to get. Dallas is the kind of team where they lose to guys like Philly, San Francisco. But if you give them a toss-up game, they'll trick you into thinking they're Super Bowl contenders. They beat teams that they're supposed to beat. That's one thing you can't take away from Dallas. And I thought I said I don't like that bet. I think 17.5 is too much in the NFL. I was wrong. Dallas rolled through the Giants, and I just think the Giants don't have a quarterback. I don't know what the fuck you can expect when you don't have a quarterback. I know that they're I think the city's embracing. You know what I mean? Their quarterback, I'm forgetting his name right now, but they're definitely
Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito, everything I'm hearing is like he's so likable. That's cool. That's part of it.
Yeah, good for him.
The other part of it is scoring it. And I will say the Giants did get 17 points, right? And I saw Bill with a tweet that said, we didn't get shut out, thank Jesus. And I understand, you played Dallas week 1 and it was like 51-0.
40-0.
Sorry. But you know what? I've been on that side too. So I can talk about this and not being an asshole. I just think this is I learned nothing about this game. I don't think I'm like Dallas didn't gain anything. The Giants didn't lose or gain anything. This is exactly what Giants Cowboys is as we are in week 10 in 2023. Yep. And I'm just not impressed, one way or another. I'm just not.
The Cowboys did whatever the fuck they wanted, dude. They could have fallen asleep throughout the play clock, woken up with 3 seconds to go, and Dak still would have completed a 25-yard pass for a first down to CeeDee Lamb.
D for the P.
D for the P. Bill, I'm sorry. Bill said, and we're finally at this point. Yes, Bill, I'm sorry. The Giants are bad, dude. The Giants are so bad, Bill, and I know how that feels. Again, we're not trying to give you shit. We really aren't. Because Kyle and I root for the Broncos and the Bears, but the Giants were so bad in this game. Again, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys were able to do whatever they wanted. Dak Prescott threw for 404 yards, 4 touchdowns. Cooper Rush came in. You had Dowdle score a touchdown. Prescott rushed for a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb rushed for a touchdown. Cooks, Lamb, and Ferguson all received a score. And now even just like the cherry on top for the Cowboys, the second team offense came in, and Mike McCarthy left CeeDee Lamb on the field. You want to know why? Because CeeDee Lamb is the first player ever in NFL history to go 3 consecutive games with 10 catches and over 150 receiving yards in those games. That's the kind of offensive day the Dallas Cowboys had. That's the kind of day the Dallas Cowboys had. They left CeeDee Lamb in just for funsies to get an NFL record. I don't know if you heard about this, Kyle, but CeeDee Lamb stayed in with the second team offense just so Mike McCarthy said this, just so he could become the first player in NFL history to get 3 consecutive games with 10 catches and over 150 yards. Just so he could do that. That's the kind of day that the Dallas Cowboys had, man. They did anything and everything they wanted to do to the Giants, and the Giants tried. It's just they didn't get shut out, kind of like Bill said, like, oh, thank God we didn't get shut out. Tommy DeVito had a pretty decent day, given the circumstances. Only 86 passing yards, but he threw for 2 touchdowns. Like, that's something to build off of. You know what I mean? And just like Bill said, you get a touchdown, and you get a touchdown, and everybody got a touchdown except for Saquon Barkley of the Giants.
Yeah, the Giants are starting to solidify their 2024 NFL draft position, and it looks like they're going to have a good shot at either getting Caleb Williams or Drake May from North Carolina. And what I'll say is it's great. It's a blessing in disguise. And look, it's not that I'm really not roasting Daniel Jones. That's not this part of the show. But what I will say is, like, if you're a fan of a team and you don't fully believe in your quarterback that you just paid, I know a little something about this.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. The best thing that can happen to you is that you can draft a guy that can come in and play superhero.
Yeah.
And I do think this is the way it's going to be for the Giants. They're not going to fire Dabble, and they shouldn't. But they should. Dabble should choose who he wants. Drake May, Caleb Williams. It should be his choice, and they should really tap into, who Dabble is, because you saw what he did for Josh Allen, and you saw what he was able to do. You know what I mean? So really, I think you got to tap into what you have and not focus on what you don't have. Obviously, it's not your season, but that's okay, because if this is what it costs for the next 20 seasons to be like dominant, like if you can draft the next Patrick Mahomes, wouldn't you give your left nut to have a season this bad so you can be relevant for the next 20? I mean, even with Eli Manning, it was like you had a good thing going with him. But when's the last time there was a Giant, not in my lifetime, a Giants quarterback that was like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, like somebody that when they walked into the room, you're like, holy shit. Like, Eli's always been Peyton's little brother. And I know he's got 2 Super Bowl rings, but it's time for the Giants to know what it's like to have Peyton and not Eli. And I think that's coming in April.
Yeah, and Bill says here, most Giants fans are eyeing Drake. Some lunatics are saying DJ stays QB1, even though of his injury history. So I don't know. You guys have right now, you said the number 2 overall pick right now is for the Giants. So, Bill, best of luck to you the rest of the season, because I know exactly what that's like.
That's right, Bill. You got to tap that ass. So Bill knows what I'm saying. So I feel a little bit better about it, knowing that it's being received well. But you know what I mean? That's just, it's tough to talk about, because we're so passionate about our teams. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be the team that can't get their shit together. And
exactly.
I think better days are ahead. This is a really interesting game, Rick. We had the Washington Commanders go into Seattle. Seattle was favored by 7.5 points. Didn't love that bet. I was right. Washington actually losing by 3, but playing a really scrappy game.
Yes.
This was not like a case of Seattle, they got to get right game, because they got blown out by the Ravens. So this was like definitely Seattle needing to try to right the ship at home. Geno Smith came through pretty clutch. Sam Howell gave his team a chance to win.
Yeah.
I definitely still believe that Washington has their long-term quarterback. I'm sorry if you didn't want his name to be Sam Howell, but superheroes don't always show up the way that you think they will. And I think Sam Howell in the Commanders, I think they're building something that's not quite there yet. And I think for Seattle, the 3-point win really signifies how much better I think Seattle is than the tier of Washington, if that makes sense, right? Like, I do think Seattle is better. I just don't think that they're so much better that they belong at the table with some of these other teams that just embarrassed them, like Baltimore.
I'm going to take a little bit of credit here. And, I said Sam Howell was going to be maybe the guy in Washington. And I was half right, because my maybe was like, hey, he might be, but I didn't have too much faith in him. And now he has fully cemented himself as the guy in Washington, unless he has like the absolute worst second season in the Commanders franchise. Like, the Commanders have a legit quarterback right now. 3 touchdowns in this game, 2 of them coming in the fourth quarter to keep this game super close. Unfortunately for the Commanders, Geno Smith was able to keep the Seahawks in this game in the fourth quarter. They on all 3 of their possessions in the fourth quarter, they scored points, whether it was field goals or touchdowns. And that's kind of what won them the game at the end of it for the Seahawks. Geno Smith threw for almost 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. You had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett going for over 90 yards receiving each. This was a good game for Seattle to kind of be like, okay, we needed this game and we got it, but we got it in a way where it proved that Ravens game wasn't us. It was not us at all. Like, we can still come out and beat good teams. The Commanders, 4-6, they can still score points and get mad offensive yards. So the Seattle Seahawks are able to get this dub. Again, if they would have gotten that win against the Ravens last week, they would be on top of the division right now in the West and just been like, phew, 2 wins in a row. We've got the division up 2 games or whatever it is. Like, they would have looked and felt great. But they still get a win here. They're 6-3. I believe they're still leading their division, if not tied with the 49ers right now. And Geno Smith played really well in that fourth quarter. Again, credit to him, credit to DK Metcalf, and even Kenneth Walker had some really clutch plays in the rushing and in the passing game. He had over 60 yards in both rushing and passing, so good for them. Again, the Commanders, really good players on their team, and like you said, they're building something, but they're just not there yet, and that's fine. They are not supposed to be there yet, but they want to be. They kind of want to be like the Texans. They kind of want to be like Seattle was last year, where you thought they were in a rebuilding phase, but they're starting to win games, trying to go into the playoffs. But they got a lot of good players there. Brian Robinson was a really good weapon for them in this game. Antonio Gibson even showed up. So Washington Commanders building something for sure. They're not there yet. Get a better offensive line though.
I agree with everything.
Nice.
With everything. And I'll say too, for Seattle to get pummeled the way they did against Baltimore, it is not easy for a team to bounce back after getting exposed like that. And Geno Smith was coming off 3 consecutive games with multiple turnovers. Geno Smith in this game, he took care of the ball. He threw for 369 yards and 2 touchdowns. And like you mentioned earlier, they're tied with the 49ers at the top of the NFC West. And I think when you look at it, it's like, okay, Seattle, they have these games where they're humbled, but then they don't quite follow up the following week with a loss. They can't be forgotten about. They always kind of just stick around,
Yeah.
right? You can't really move off of them. You can't forget about them. And I think it's really hard when you have such a demoralizing or a defeat to bounce back. And
100%.
And the Commanders came out, man, and they gave them their best shot. And that's kind of been the story of the Commanders this whole year, is like play really good teams and lose at the end. And they lost to Philly by a total of 6 points in 2 games. And then this was just kind of another game where it was like, they're almost there. And I gotta say, it's time to I don't know if we got to make a new segment or we'll just pause the show. But we need to talk about Eric Bieniemy, and we need to talk about him. And Eric Bieniemy leaving Kansas City because he was never going to get the credit for Mahomes because Andy Reid was there. And he comes to the team with the most unfavorable situation, right? It was
seemed like
the worst situation that he could have come into. And Eric Bieniemy has Sam Howell looking like they don't need to draft a quarterback. They need more weapons. Like, I mean, to do that in 10 months, you know what I mean? Eric Bieniemy is going to be a head coach in this league very soon. And, you know, I feel like we haven't talked about him as much as we should have. Because what he's doing, even though they're not getting wins, it is truly inspiring to see somebody leave because he's not getting recognition, and then just immediately find success in a quarterback like Sam Howell, you know, with new ownership coming in and all of the reasons that Eric Bieniemy has to fail, he's choosing to succeed. And I just, man, and look at the Chiefs. You know what I mean? It looks like they're missing something. And you can't say it's Tyreek Hill because they won the Super Bowl after Tyreek Hill. It seems like they're missing Eric Bieniemy.
I was gonna say he's having that same Tyreek Hill moment. You're gonna leave the Chiefs, you're not gonna have any success. More, you know, not even, especially not with the Washington Commanders. And look what he's doing with Sam Howell, man. Again, if they invest in a good offensive line, if they can get like a top 10 offensive lineman and even maybe just either trade for one or pick one up in free agency, wow. They're looking at a really solid offense going into next year because they still have Terry McLaurin's paid. Brian Robinson is still on his rookie contract. Antonio Gibson, we'll see what happens with him. Like, you still have Curtis Samuel. You still got Dotson. I don't know who their tight end really is or if they're any that good. I think it might be Logan Thomas still. I can't remember.
Logan Thomas.
So you're looking at a really solid offense next year if you can invest in those trenches. And Bieniemy, again, credit to him because, yes, you're looking at the Chiefs now and you're like, shit, there is definitely something missing. And you saw that when Tyreek Hill left. He was making fucking Juju Smith-Schuster a Super Bowl winner, you know? And now they're like, heavy on their defense, relying on their defense. Bieniemy, he's going to get a coaching job, whether it be the Commanders after Ron Rivera leaves or somewhere else, because he definitely deserves them. And Steve's saying, remember I mentioned Sunday about him replacing Rivera at the end of the season as a coach. I still feel he was brought in to take over depending on how Rivera performs this season. Rivera's done at the end of the season, Steve. You're right. And that was a great point that you brought up during the streams. He may have a shot, man. He may have a shot. Why not?
So does another guy on the staff. Like, don't forget about Jack Del Rio. When Gary Kubiak had chest issues, we put in. This is the Super Bowl 50 team. Jack Del Rio had to come in as an interim head coach, and he held our team together. And look at how the Commanders' defense has been playing. Jack Del Rio was the head coach for Jacksonville. So even with everything going on, you still look at that Commanders building and you're like, there's a ton of great, capable coaches running the show, which changes everything, man, because how many times is there a team that can't get the win, that are losing 90%, 80% of their games, and you want to tear up the whole front office, right? You want to take out all the coaching, defense coordinator, offense coordinator. That's not what the Commanders are, right? They may just need to move somebody laterally, and their coaching staff, it is definitely not like, hey, let's blow this thing up. So I think that's really I guess encouraging moving forward for the Commanders. And our next game is actually Sunday Night Football. Right now, the Jets are up 9-6 with 4 minutes and 43 seconds left in the third quarter.
Oh, God.
We'll keep you up to date with how that one ends.
I never want to talk about I'd never want to talk about another Jets football game for the rest of my life. I'm sorry, Lily. If you're watching this, Lily, I apologize.
Did you see the video of Aaron Rodgers looking at the guy and he's like, I'm not playing? Because the cameras were following him, and he had a bag on his shoulders, and
hilarious.
And he looked over at the camera. He's like, "I'm not playing."
Stop fucking.
The camera just went down.
Sorry, sorry.
But did you see also Aaron Rodgers spilling that bottle? The whole internet was trying to figure out what was in there. Some said it was the Fountain of Youth. Other people said it was tequila. A lot of people are trying to figure out what it was in that bottle, that clear liquid that poured out. Aaron Rodgers had it in a secured box that looked very expensive, and he dropped
I agree on the tequila.
And I think it's tequila as well, because the little hats that
little hats
Mexico loves to pour like shots in.
Yeah.
It had the little hat on top. So I'm going to put my money on tequila. My brother's been to Mexico a couple times making different types of tequilas. You got your Blanco, you got your Reposado. I'm very much into the tequila game. But yeah, we don't need to talk about this, right?
Not at all. No, we may as well just. That game was dog shit. I'm sorry, Lily, but
that game was so bad. That game was so bad that I questioned my dedication to the channel for the following 20 minutes, because we got done with the game and I was sitting on my bed and I'm like, did I even give my viewers enough? Like, I felt like for the last 30 minutes, I've been nowhere. You know what I mean? Like,
so tough to get excited for games like that.
I know. I felt terrible, and I wanted to be open about it. If we're not going to talk about the game, we got to at least talk about that. Guys, thank you for bearing with me. I'm sorry that I wasn't the life of the party on that Sunday Night Football game. I sat in my bed after the game, and all I could think was I didn't give our people enough juice, enough passion, and for that I'm really sorry. But it was such a dog shit game.
Such a dog shit game. And again, just like Kyle said, I'm sorry if we couldn't bring enough excitement, but we tried. We really did try. Like, we tried yelling. I tried getting mad for Jets fans. Like, it is what it is.
It's always bad too when you got like real life shit going on too. And you're like,
that's true.
Not only is like the game going on, but in your head you have this inner dialogue of another story of your day and all that. And normally good football just fucking throws that out, right? So that there's no inner dialogue when you got good football. But when you get bad football, you get these voices.
100%.
And I just think maybe I could have been a little better, but it was a shitty game.
We tried, but what we are going to do.
And it is expensive. A Spanish announcer that had the topper, a custom knit sock that had the Jets logo on it.
Bill knows. Bill
knew exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, and Steve asked, was he actually drinking it? 100% he was. It's Aaron fucking Rodgers. Probably had ayahuasca in it too.
Probably.
All right, let's move on to our next segment, Kyle. Running backs of the week. After a great recap by Kyle and I, credit to us, pat ourselves on the back, pat. Thank you. Let's move into the running backs of the week. In week 10, I'll start my first one out of two. I'm going with Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs had a great game, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing. And he also threw in a couple 3 receptions, 35 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs just continues to dominate in that Lions rush game. And that's that David Montgomery also rushed for a touchdown, and I believe over 100 yards. So Jahmyr Gibbs is still getting his touches, and he's still making a difference on that team. It wouldn't surprise me, like they just signed David Montgomery, but it wouldn't surprise me if Jahmyr Gibbs becomes the premier back there in Detroit.
All right. I'm going to go with Austin Ekeler, a guy that going into the season wanted a new contract, was going to do a holdout, and then said, no, I love playing football. I don't want to hurt my team. I'm going to bet on myself and go play. And he did get hurt to start the season. He missed the game against Tennessee, Minnesota, Las Vegas, the bye week was 4 weeks, but he did miss a total of an entire month. And since he's been back, he's had, at least fantasy-wise, 23 points, 21, and had another 21.5 game against Detroit. He had 19 carries for 67 yards and a touchdown, but he also had 4 catches or 7 targets, 4 catches for 48 yards, almost 50 yards.
Wow.
And it just shows you like how important Austin Ekeler is. And I think you guys were asking me who's more important, Mike Williams or Austin Ekeler? And I was like, Austin Ekeler. And everybody was like, Mike Williams. Mike Williams is gone, and Austin Ekeler has them playing close games against Detroit. I'm sorry. I just don't think if Mike Williams was in, and Austin Ekeler was out, that this game would be the same. So I'm going to give my flowers to an AFC West divisional foe in Austin Ekeler and say, you're the most important person not named Justin Herbert on the Chargers, and they fucked up by not paying you, and your money's right around the corner.
Yeah, it is 100%. They did fuck up. They might pay him though. We'll see. My second running back of the week goes to a guy named James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. Luckily, I could bring this up after Broncos win, so that's great. But look, he had 12 carries for 109
Fumbled on the first play of the game.
Fumbled on the first play of the game. Fumbled a second time, but recovered. But the fact that we have talked about Buffalo's 2 fumbles. He recovered 1, though, on a great bounce. What is that? What are those balloons?
Who's doing that?
Birthday.
And how? Why do you always look behind me?
We always talk about how the Bills do not have a great rush game, and this game proved otherwise because it seemed like on the drive in which they scored, they were just giving it to James Cook, and James Cook was taking that rock, going up the middle, scoring. He didn't score. He actually didn't score, but he was about to score. He looked like he wanted to score. Great rush game by James Cook. No score again. Unfortunately, he was unable to get a touchdown. But again, we talk about how bad the Bills running game is. They brought him in from, I believe, I forget where he was. He might be a rookie or like second year, whatever in the league. They brought him in. He's starting to give life to that run game for the Bills.
I agree with it. And because Denver win, I'm going to let you sing your song. I'm also going to pick another running back on the other side that's a little young. I'm talking about a guy that's super hung. I'm talking about Javonte Williams. And Javonte Williams went out and had himself a game. 21 carries, 79 yards, just pounding the rock. You saw firsthand how the collision when Javonte Williams makes first contact is insane. And if that wasn't enough, he had 4 catches for 31 yards, including a touchdown. We call it tug, whatever. But Javonte Williams, you take Javonte Williams away, there's no Denver win today. It's that simple. Javonte Williams is the secret ingredient to Denver's 3-game winning streak, and you got to be mentioned on running back of the week when you're winning football games for your team. That's what this is all about.
100% Javonte Williams with that major catch there for a touchdown there late in the game. All right, Kyle, let's get it.
Top 5, no debating. Top 5.
Top five. Kyle, top 5.
Yeah.
Will and
I'm ready.
our top 5 here. Kyle is clearly not ready. No, he's ready. He's ready.
No, I'm ready. I'm always ready. But
He's
this
just
is a weird
fooling.
week, man, because
Yes.
how many guys in your top 5? Because you had the Chiefs in your top 5. Denver beat them. You kept Chiefs in there, but you had Buffalo in. Denver beat Buffalo.
No, I didn't have Buffalo in.
No, you had Buffalo in. Just go with it. So
okay. Yeah, I had Buffalo in.
You had
Denver
Buffalo
beat them.
in.
You're right.
The Bengals lost to the Texans. The Ravens lost to the Browns. So what did we do?
Well, you can't get fired on your day off, Kyle, but I started off last time. So now it's your turn. Who do you have at number 5 in your top 5?
And number 5, I have the Cleveland Browns.
Wow. I kind of saw that coming.
The Cleveland Browns are going to stay at that position because I think that they're that good of a team. They got a great defense. The kind of game that they won shows that they're made of the stuff to go into January. And really, ultimately, what our top 5 is all about is trying to, in a perfect world, your top 5, every team will be playing in January. Every team is competing for a Super Bowl. I think I got a little bit ahead of this curve 4 weeks ago, and I'm not going to quit now after a big win against the Ravens. Cleveland comes in at number 5.
Well, then you're going to hate my number 5. I've still got the Ravens in my top 5. They lost a close game against the Browns. Don't get it twisted, but they are dominating the NFC right now. Still 7-3, leaders of their division. I got the Ravens at number 5.
All right. I got Dallas at number 4.
Oh,
Dallas is going to make a reappearance. How do you say that? A reappearance? Yeah, a reappearance.
Yeah.
Okay. Dallas is making a reappearance. Look, they lost to the 49ers. It was ugly. They lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. It was not ugly. And they're rolling over the teams that they're supposed to. And by my calculations, they're about 3 weeks away from beating Philly, and the whole world has them at number 3. I think Dallas, like, I don't know, man. I can't let them go. They're just, it's like, it's one thing to be like, you're playing the Giants, you're supposed to blow them out. It's another thing to do it, and everyone knew it was going to happen, and it happened anyway, and they almost scored 50. Like, okay, if you're playing a shitty team and we can guarantee that you're going to score almost a 50 burger and they're not going to score more than 17, then I think that's kind of the point where it's like, we're talking about a top 5 team in the NFL, right?
Yep.
And that's what I think Dallas is.
I like it. I've got the Chiefs staying at number 4 on my top 5. You don't get fired on your day off, Kyle. You just don't. You don't get fired on your day off.
Patrick Mahomes was on the Manning cast on Monday Night Football talking about those Denver Broncos. I can't wait. After this, I'm going to be watching the highlights. I'm going to be like, say our name, bitch. Say our name.
Kyle, just say my name, bitch. Say you lost. I've got the Chiefs at number 4. They haven't moved from last week's, from my last week top 5. And like I said, you don't lose on your day off. The Chiefs, recouping from that loss right now during the bye week. They're going to come out stronger, better than ever. But hey, the Broncos are always going to have that win against the Chiefs, baby. They're always going to have that win. Chiefs are my number 4.
Bills.
Chiefs
and against
are my number
Bills.
4. Yep.
And you know what? It's a little too early for me to put Denver into the top 5.
Yeah, I hope so.
But if they beat the Vikings and the Browns, you can bet your ass they're gonna be making an appearance.
Yeah,
there's a winning record football team that's 2 months without losing. They're coming.
I'm coming.
Oh my God, I will be too. Trust me. I'm gonna go with the 49ers at number 3.
Wow,
the 49ers. Trent Williams is very important to this team. Deebo Samuel is very important to the team. Christian McCaffrey is irreplaceable. Chase Young is now very important to this team with Nick Bosa. Jacksonville was on the longest win streak in the NFL, and they didn't score a touchdown in the entire game.
Yep.
Like this kind of dominance doesn't happen on the road. This happened in Duval County with the fans into it and the winning streak on their back, the wind, right? If you've ever cycled, you know how important it is to have the wind in your back.
Yep.
Jacksonville had every reason to not do that. What happened on Sunday? And for that, the 49ers, I'm willing to forget about all that other shit. And I'm ready to put them back in at number 3. They'll probably make their way to number 2 here in the next couple of weeks. But for right now, number 3. The 49ers are the 3rd best team in the NFL.
Okay. My number 3, maybe a little too crazy for you, but I've got the Detroit Lions at number 3 on my top 5.
Wow.
Yes, they got destroyed by the Ravens, but they came back and they won that game against the Chargers. They scored a ton of fucking points, and they weren't like, it wasn't just Goff who did it. It wasn't just Montgomery who did it. It wasn't just Amon-Ra St. Brown. The entire team scored. Now, look, we could look at their defense and be like, well, they gave up 38 to the Chargers. Yes, 100%. They're not going to give up 38 points every fucking week. It's just not. They just went up against a very good offensive team. And when it comes down to it, Dan Campbell, like we talked about it, is the right guy for this job. He will settle this team down if he needs to. I got my Lions in at number 3.
And you said it might be a little too high. Look, I'm not even going to fault that. You know why? Because I got the Lions at number 2.
Number 2.
I think the Lions are the 2nd best team in the NFL right now. If you can go into December and be the undisputed best 2 running backs in the NFL are on the Lions team, are you talking about a team that's already marked their whole identity as a tough football team, and now you're going to give them the 2 best running back, the 2-headed monster in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery? This team is not built for January. This team is built for February. And that's why the Detroit Lions are number 2 on my list. I just, when you look at Detroit, you got to think to yourself, what's the better team in the NFL? And if you're honest with yourself, you could probably only think of one football team.
Yep. And I think we both had that one at our number 1, but I'm going to continue on with number 2. I've actually got the Cowboys at number 2 over all of my top 5.
I've never been this shocked on our top 5. I am mind blown right now. No way.
This is the first time the Cowboys make an appearance, I believe, on my top 5. If I'm not mistaken. To number 2. We look always, and I think this entire season when we get to the playoffs, we're going to look at that game against the 49ers. And what did the Cowboys do? They went 3-1 after that loss, scoring over 40 points twice. Yes, it was against the Rams. Yes, it was against the Giants, and they lost a close game against the Eagles. But dude, what more do you want? They're playing their schedule, and guess what? Dak Prescott is looking really good. He threw for over 400 yards against the Giants and 4 touchdowns. They let CeeDee Lamb run with the 2s just so he can get that record as an NFL record, right? They put up a really good game against the Eagles. Like, the Eagles came out pretty sloppy against that defense. It really wasn't until the 4th quarter of that game that the Eagles were able to win it. So they were in there. They are able to compete with good teams. The Cowboys are my number 2. Turns ayahuasca. Bill hates this pick.
That I wasn't expecting that jump. I actually thought I was going to get some dog shits in the chat at number 4, but number 2, I love it. And I think you and I are going to the same place for the 3rd week in a row at number 1. And how can you not? We both got the Philadelphia Eagles at
Denver
number 1.
Broncos. Oh, okay.
Not yet. Trust me. As soon as I can jump the gun, I will. And you can count on it. But as it is right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are the most complete team, and they should be everyone's Super Bowl favorite. Not to go, to win.
Yeah, 100%. And again, this is another instance where you can't lose your job on your day off. The Eagles have just been great this year.
And by the way, Sunday Night Football next week, we're going to get the Chiefs and the Eagles, a Super Bowl rematch.
Yes.
Not Sunday Night Football. That's
Monday night?
Monday Night Football.
Monday night. Yeah. Monday night.
So, dude, I mean, we got primetime games up the ass coming our way. We got Cleveland, Baltimore on Thursday. We got Broncos, Vikings on Sunday night. And then we're going to follow that up with Chiefs, Eagles. Are you kidding me? We're about to learn a lot about like 6 teams in a short 1 week period. I'm super stoked. But yeah, man, Philly's got to be everybody's number one. They got to be.
We got Daniel in here saying Cowboys have never won in the playoffs, and it won't change now. They are frauds. Niners proved it last year, and they will prove it again this year too. Daniel J, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you?
Daniel Jones. I knew he loved this show. I always did. But you know what, Daniel J? I'm going to say one thing about that. When you're on that side of history, you'll never be on the other side. And this is the way it works, right? The Chiefs had beaten the Broncos for 16 times in a row. What did Rick say? I'll pick Denver when they beat the Chiefs, which is a fine take to have, and you're allowed to have that. But just know, at some point, you will be on the losing side, and our job here is to never be on that side. We got to get ahead of the curve. We can't wait. Look, I understand Dallas hasn't proven anything in our entire life, but at some point, that won't be true. And we got to take the team that they are now under Mike McCarthy, and we got to make an assessment. And based on my assessment, they're going to be playing in the NFC Championship game.
I agree. And Daniel says, no, my last name is Jensen, so I shortened it to J. Yeah, that's what Daniel Jones
always says that.
He literally always says that.
Just messing with you, Daniel J. Thank you for being in here.
Thank you for being in here. We appreciate the sub.
Top 5, no debating. Top 5.
All right, everybody. We're moving on to the Chives. But not only with Kyle this time, it's going to actually be the Chives with Kyle and Rick.
Actually, I'm leaving, so it's just going to be the Chives with Rick.
Wow. What a piece of shit Kyle is.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. It's going to be Kyle and Rick. We got some news for you guys, for our fellow supporters, the people that are invested in this channel. We want to be open about all the changes that are coming your way, because they're not just changes for us, they're changes for you guys. So let's get right into it, Rick.
So obviously the first thing, right, is we were kind of just, doing it a little slowly, but I don't know if you guys noticed, like the bottom ticker was maybe not involving some of the Star 6 media socials, and then we were only telling you guys to follow us on Twitter. So it was kind of like a soft launch, if you will, but we have officially moved on from being a part of Star 6 Media, and we are now just only football with Kyle and Rick. Kyle and I felt that, we were doing a lot for the channel, and we felt that, we needed to move on and kind of just grow ourselves, grow only football as a channel, as a show, as something that we hope to one day be our full-time job with you guys, and to make this our living, to make money off this. And, part of that is, to kind of, there's a fork in the road. One team has to go one way, the other team has to go the other way. It's and that's the decision we made. Kyle and I have been talking about this for not too long, but we've definitely been having talks about it, and we finally made the change, which is why we brought you a new layout. We have brought you the new channel name. We've brought you a new not Instagram, Twitter handle, and all that stuff. And we're hoping to get to 500 subs on this channel on YouTube, so that way when you guys are donating, once we get super chats and subscribing and stuff like that, that it is going to only football, me and Kyle, who are bringing you all this entertainment and all this content to make this channel grow into something much bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that and say the one thing I think you guys can rest assured when you subscribe to our channel, is that you may see us try new things, right? Because we really want to bring as much engagement as possible. We may try many things, but at the end of the day, me and Rick have a bar that is set at a certain level.
Yeah.
And if what we're trying doesn't reach that bar, that we're going to pivot. And that is just a testament to how much we want to bring you the best content on this channel. We want you guys to tune in, and every time you get notified, every time the bell rings, every time you click, I want it to be something that you guys can feel good about. And that's really all this is. Nothing's going to change on your guys' end besides some branding stuff. But just know that every change that we make is ultimately going towards the goal of bringing the best content we possibly can to this channel, no matter who's putting it out. And it's always going to be that way as long as me and Rick are here, because obviously you have two people here that care so much about what we're doing. It's beyond a passion. And that's why one day it will bring in money. And it's really important to try to find those characteristics in anybody that we bring on, because really that's kind of what everybody wants. You know, at the end of the day, you can be good at many things, but only a few people can be great at something. And we're trying to be great here at Only Football.
Yeah, honestly, could not have said it better myself. And you know, a big driving force was obviously like the engagement we get from you guys. You know, Kyle said it. We're trying to bring you guys the best content possible, and really, it does start with you guys. Like everyone who's in this channel right now, watching this, commenting, subscribe, interacting with us on Twitter. We love talking to you guys.
To rate us.
Yeah, like three times.
Things.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Crazy.
And that's what Kyle's saying. Like, we want to make sure that when we set a bar, which we have, we need everything to be at that level. And when it's not, kick it to the side, because it is not at our minimums.
And that includes me coming to you guys tonight for the first time and saying, I didn't do good enough on Sunday Night Football. I had other things going on in my head that when we cut that live stream, when I sat in my bed, I said, I didn't even reach the bar that I set for myself. Yeah. Right. And that's
it sucks.
Yeah. And that's the type of integrity that we not only will come to expect from other viewership, but we expect that from ourselves. And I would be the first person to call Rick, or Rick would call me. You know what I mean? It hasn't happened yet because we're pretty, you know, like we notice that stuff in ourselves before it gets out of hand. But you know what I mean? It's not just for other people. It's also a bar that we set for ourselves, and we'd be the first people to be like, yeah, I didn't cut it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And thank you, Mark. He said, good luck, guys. Hard work and patience will pay off. And it has. Appreciate it really has. Like, we've seen it. We went from 0 viewers going live for a couple months in a row to streaming Thursday Night Football and Grossi rating us. And we get guys like Bill and Casey and Steve and Jinja. And now Rossi graded us again. And we get guys like Daniel and Lily and E-Dub, Liam, all these guys coming in. And it's just like Mark said, hard work and patience work, you know, pays off, and it has. And I also want to say, kind of what Kyle was referring to, anything with earlier with branding and stuff. Like, we've got some exciting stuff coming to you guys here from Only Football. And it's going to be great for not only us, again, like I said, it's not going to be only great for us. It's going to be great for you guys, because we're going to be introducing a lot of cool stuff. And you're not only going to get the live streams, you're not only going to get the episodes weekly that we do. We're going to start doing more shorts. We're going to start doing more, you know, other content. And again, hit us up on Twitter, because we will interact with you. We love hearing your guys' stories on Twitter, and we love all the videos you send, especially Bill. Bill always sends us like some of the best videos. Definitely.
And that's all I got.
Yeah, Steve has a great comment here from his usual troll self. He said, Kyle, during the offseason into the start of the season, you did an outstanding job of keeping the channel alive while Rick couldn't be here, so don't feel bad about one time when you were ill, buddy. Yeah,
Okay,
no,
that's
still
deep.
feel bad. No, don't give Kyle that. Still feel bad, Kyle. You should feel like shit. No, but Steve is right. Like Kyle did a lot while I was not able to do the Only Football channel, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to make it up to Kyle, even if it means wearing a
No.
Broncos jersey. And what were you thinking, Kyle? What were you thinking?
No, yeah, I was thinking you don't have to make anything up. This is our dream, and
Yeah.
you know what? Find yourself a friend like I found in Rick, where I would rather not even have my dream come true than to have it come true alone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it might look like I was keeping it alive for Rick, but like the way I really feel about it is I don't want this just for me. I want this for Rick and Natalie, and I want this for them as much as I want it for me. And that's I think why this channel is going to work.
It is 100%, and it all starts with you guys. Like I said, you guys are our biggest supporters, and we always appreciate you guys and shout you guys at the end of the shows. Whoever you guys are, I don't know who your names. But before we get out of here, before we get into the outro, I do just want to give a shout out to a couple people who were doing a lot of good stuff on the Star 6 Media channel, and that is the Slot Shot podcast. Go follow them on YouTube. If you like all NHL, all hockey, go follow them on YouTube. I promised I might give them a shout out. Jack, Rusty is part of that show. So if you guys love Rusty and
You guys love Rusty, the Patriots
antics,
fan.
The Patriots fan, and Alex, the Lions fan, Jack is a Bears fan. So go check them out. They're always doing great stuff on Slot Shot for the NHL. Steve said, I hear you, but I had a friend like Rick. I pushed his ass off a cliff.
Have you ever heard that joke where it was like,
no,
there was a Georgia Bulldogs fan, a Seminoles fan, and a Gators fan, and the Georgia Bulldog fan goes, "This is how much I love the Bulldogs," and he jumps off a cliff.
Yeah.
And then there's I guess 4 fans. So let's say a Tar Heels fan. He's like, "This is how much I love the Tar Heels," and he jumps off a cliff.
Yeah.
And then the Florida State fan goes, "This is how much I love the Seminoles," and he pushes the Gators fan off the cliff.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Daniel said, hey, it's all good, guys. I'm just trolling the Cowboys because Scooter Magruder keeps saying the Cowboys will go to the Super Bowl time after time.
Dude, there's nothing I hate more than when I'm watching like the ESPN world of people trying to get me to dislike a team that I have no business disliking, just because I'm like, all right, well, if you're going to be that hard, you know what I mean, then I'm going to have to bring this back in. And that's why I'm like, no, you gotta just turn it all off and formulate your own opinions, because man, people will drive you to say the darnest shit.
Yeah, honestly, 100%. Fucking Cowboys. God, I'm starting to believe it. Thank you guys to everybody who tuned in to the recap episode, everyone who tuned into the stream. It's just, again, I want to get into it because I've seen the numbers just go up on our streams. And again, like I'm getting just a little bit emotional here, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it for you guys and you little freaks out there that want to see me get emotional. I really do appreciate all the numbers going up, because when Kyle and I started this is season 2 of Only Football. And when we started it last year, it was just like one view, maybe a like every couple months or so. And now it's like we're getting double-digit views, double-digit likes, double-digit comments. Kyle's about to cry here. So again, we really appreciate it. Go follow us on YouTube at Only Football. Go follow us on Twitter at Only Football KR. And then on our Twitch handle is Only Football Pod. And you can follow me on Twitter at And Now Rick. Kyle, where could they follow you on Twitter? You
can follow me.
He's crying.
The Appleseed.
He fucking loves that.
You guys know that's going to be the way this thing goes.
Yeah.
No, but you really can follow me at FTBLONLYPODCAST. Not sure how to remove my name here, but
got you.
Thank you. Yeah, follow me on Twitter. Hey, and by the way, I've never announced this, but this is a family This isn't like separate business and pleasure. Fuck that.
Yeah.
You guys can follow me at Facebook at Kyle Kitzman, my first and last name, KYLEKITZMAN. You guys are friends, and this isn't like, oh, there's Kyle Kitzman and there's only, no, you guys fucking add me on Facebook, whatever you guys use. Feel free to add, and if you have a question, feel free to ask.
I would do the same, but I keep my shit private for government reasons. I'm not gonna lie, like I just don't want people in my shit like that. Anyway, but this is a family episode, a family show. We love interacting with all you guys. Thank you guys again. Follow us everywhere. We are on our quest to 500 subs on YouTube, and we are so goddamn close, Kyle. We are so goddamn close.
We are, dude, and that's just crazy to think about because it's like you see the number growth, but then you see like, okay, so for every 100 we get 1 dedicated or 2 dedicated. You know, it's just funny how the number thing goes because the channel grows and we're growing at the same time, you know, as far as streaming and stuff like that. You look at the views and you're like, oh, we are growing, but you know, sometimes it doesn't happen as fast as you think. Like, oh, you got 500 viewers, but you only got 10 people in the stream with you. Dude, and like I said, we've had some really shitty primetime games.
Yes, we have
this season. So, like, I look at our numbers and I'm super encouraged by the fact that you guys, you're like, you know what? If we're gonna watch a dog shit game, we're gonna watch a dog shit game with some people that know that the game is completely dog shit. And I appreciate that. So yeah, numbers are encouraging.
Bill's going to get in touch with you offline for a gift he's going to send you, Kyle. So, and Bill's always quick with the follows, man. I love it. Bill is a fucking OG and one of the guys that we will always shout out and remember. So again, thank you to everybody. Kyle said it. Whenever there's a shitty primetime game, tune in Only Football because at least we'll say it's a shitty primetime game.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle.
Maybe it'll be such a bad game that I'll come apologize to you on Monday night.
Kyle, I will see you for Thursday Night Football, brother.
See ya.
See ya.